Hey everybody, it's Mike over here at Growtopia, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit what's going on inside here today, and then talk about some stuff maybe that might help you. So a little nursery update. The celery has gotten pretty decently bigger. The basil in here, this large Italian leaf basil, definitely growing. And my tomato plant is running for the moon. We still haven't got any more plants from our orders from Fast Going Tree. So Monday I'm going to be calling them and screaming and complaining on where the rest of my stuff is so that I can get it in here, get it watered, get it ready so that it starts looking like that. Look at the hydrangeas. Look how green they are. And the growth on them is insane. And they just constantly keep getting more and more and more growth. Obviously I brought my peppers out and I'm trying to see exactly how much watering I need because now I'm changing up a lot of things in here. So I hope what I'm going to be doing is going to be helping probably some others. I got my coffee bean plant over there. My dwarf banana I put on this side here. And I just started going through watering and doing a little bit of redoing the way I do things, which is basically a tendency, if you guys watch long enough, that I have a tendency to do something one way and then I have like an epiphany, and then I start doing it differently. And then I try it for that period of time, and if it's something that's successful, I'll film a video. If it's not successful, you'll never know about it. I'm not going to put out, stupid shit. I have put out useless shit before, so I really want to try to get away from that. Now, one of the things is we're looking at a tray here that once upon a time had a tray full of greenery, and it looks like there's some greenery left in here, but there really isn't. One of the things, if you are having stress issues with your plants, meaning you're stressed about what to plant, how much to plant, how many to plant. I was doing the same thing. I was right there with you. I was worrying about trying to plant, I need, one zucchini for me and this person and that person. Stop. So, I've stopped two major things. The two things I've stopped is stressing about how many plants I need and stressing about keeping the log running in the book. Now, the log in the book is great for like specific plants that you're getting new to, you're getting accustomed to. And you're like, oh, when did I plant this to know when you harvest from it? Well, the more you do this, the less you're going to need that log. But it is good on certain plants that you might be new to, like I just planted recently, like a couple minutes ago, is gay feather. Yes, gay feather is exactly how you pronounce it. No, I am not being whatever you want to call me these days. I don't know. There's fucking so many terminologies I can't even keep up with things anymore. But it's also known as blazing star. Gay feather is a perennial all-American wildflower, native to meadows and marshes. Produces 4-foot tall spikes of purple flower heads that bloom from the top, creating a feathery effect. Now, why did they call it gay feather? Who knows? Maybe guys and girls would tickle themselves with it. I don't know why they come up with this. Or the guy's last name or woman's last name was gay and they just stuck it on. And it's like, hey, look, it's a feather. Marvin Gaye. Whatever. Where they come up with some of these names, I don't know. Because gay doesn't just mean homosexually, it's originally more or less just happy, so nevertheless, get gay about your flowers. So before I was constantly trying to like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. Well, now what I started to do is that now I'm going to go back to the way that I was doing stuff in the beginning of last year when this stuff was really starting to take off, before I really got nutty. I had one shelf. This was a bedroom. There was a bed. There was a dresser. I had one shelf, and I'd only had like I think I had maybe 3 trays, maybe 5. No, that's right. I had 5 trays because it comes 5 as a pack, and I had one heating mat, and I would just grow it, and then what was funny is I would take the stuff off the heating mat because it was still warm in here, and I didn't need to run the mats when the temperature in here is the same temperature that I'm trying to acquire on the mat. So I would just shut the heating mats off. Now, of course, I wasn't really at March at that point. I think I was in more like maybe April into June, but we're not that far from it. So I was doing that a lot last year, but I would have full trays. You know, it'd be like one tray just zucchini, just the whole tray was zucchini. And I laughed because it was like last year. I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do with all these plants? Well, sometimes these plants don't always all take off. So what I'm really kind of pointing at too is if you're stressing out, just plant the whole tray. Don't stress out about it. And before I was actually taking the stuff in and out of the book and I was putting it back. Now what I've done is I've taken out all the different plants that I want to plant for this year, minus the tomatoes and tomatoes mainly. And I basically took all my seeds out and I just threw them on the counter and I said, this is what we're planting this year. That's it. Because to try to go through the book and be like, oh, let me plant this and I plant that and plant this and plant that and plant this and plant that. I start getting stressed. I'm getting overwhelmed. I don't have a lot of space to do all of this. If I had a larger plot of land, it would be great, but I would probably be having the same situation where I'm like, I can only hold 45,000 zucchini plants. I can't hold 47. So there's that. Now, there's also the other thing too. When your plants have a tendency, if you're using these peat bags and you reuse them over and over again, you might start noticing that they start drying out. Well, that's basically when the peat bag is done. Now, even though you see there is something kind of green growing in here, there's really it's in 2 to 3 days it's going to be dead. These bags, I could soak the shit out of them today, literally by soaking them in water, and they'll be dry in 2 days. Same thing if I water the trays. And I was basically for about a week and a half, I was almost every other day watering these trays. And I was getting horrible results where basically either everything died or everything would dry out. And you would think that I had so I'd look at the temperature, maybe the temp was too high. No, the temp's low. Maybe it's too much light. No, light doesn't make a difference. Maybe it's the baseboard. No, we keep the temperature in the house on the lowest setting, which is 60 degrees that we can do. I was thinking, all right, well, maybe it's got to be another factor. Well, I put the fans on. Maybe the fans are on for too long. So I started playing around with every 2 to 3 days, changing it up. And all I've come down to is that from my experience with the peat bags, for some reason, after a while, they start drying out. They're only a temporary thing. They're not meant to be permanent. So what ends up basically happening is the bags dry out, and I re-soak them, and then I plant something in them. And then nothing grows in the bag. Then the bags will constantly dry out. You'll see some other ones that are worse shaped than these. So what I'm going to end up doing from now on is instead of worrying about, basically what I'm going to do is basically the peat bags are going to get one-time use only. 2-time use only. After the second round, and you'll know when it's their second round because they still dry out after like a couple days, and it's like really weird. It makes no sense. So what I'm going to do is with the ones that are going to dry out, like this one's hard, is I'm just going to rip it open, and I got a container below me, and I'm just dumping the outside of it and the soil into this container, which then I'll mix with planting soil, which then I'll reuse to fill up the orange planters. Now, another thing that might help you as well as another tip, other than keeping down certain kind of plants that you are going to want to plant this year, is reseeding your trays. So if I have a bunch of tags, which I have in here that I've used before, keep the tags in the tray and just put new pods or new soil in it, whatever. If you're going for the pods, if you are planting your plants in soil base planter and you're having some weird drying out issues, I would definitely look at the soil composite, and I would look at your watering. Now, I was watering Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I thought that was a great watering schedule. And the other day, a couple days ago, I went to a bunch of farms and picked the brains of the people that are there. And I was telling them, hey, I'm trying to grow this, I'm trying to grow that. And for some reason, everything died out. So I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of strange. So what it came down to is somebody had asked me, well, how much are you watering? I said, well, I'm watering, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I said, whoa, that's a lot of water for seedlings, and beginning germination. It's good for once the plant gets basically some, girth on it, once it starts growing and it's established. I guess from what I was hearing from a couple different sources, that's a good watering schedule, but not when they're still young. When they're still young, they don't need that much water. Once or twice a week at the most. As they start to grow bigger and their water demand gets higher, that's when you should kick up the watering. But when they're little seedlings, watering them 3 times a week, they're just basically looking for Noah's Ark at that point. And they can't survive. And I notice that a lot with some of the seedlings. So that's basically Mike's tips over here for the day of stuff that I've experienced, learned, and some mistakes that I made. And like I said, I just cleaned out that tray. I'm going to fill it full of new stuff. And I'm going to do 5 of each. And I just, grab the packets that I have out of the pile. And it's not that I only want to do 5 of each. It's just that I'm going to start with this tray and do 5 of each. And it's going to be 5 cucamelon plants, 5 black beauty zucchinis, and 5 cucumber garden sweets that I grew from last year. Those were really good too. And I'm just going to see what I got for the tags, put the bags, lay the seed, put the dome top on it, and just stick it on one of the shelves. Like I said, I kind of got away from the logging of it for certain things. When it comes to getting the first sets of different random plants started, plants that I'm not sure of when to harvest them, such as like pumpkins, such as sometimes certain squashes and stuff, like when do you take them off the vine. Zucchinis are pretty simple. The black beauty zucchinis last year, the zucchinis, once they got some girth on them, and they turned a little yellow on the tip, and then the yellow would go away. Was it the zucchinis or cucumbers? One or the other had the yellow tip. I can't remember. Some people say, "Oh, you got to pick them. You got to pick them." The only time you really pick stuff is when it's young. When the plant is young. So like if you got like tomatoes and cucumbers and I think zucchini maybe. I'm not sure about peppers. Don't quote me on it. But when they're young and they're starting to produce fruit, the fruit that they're producing is the seed for the plant to reproduce. So to keep the plant constantly producing, you got to constantly keep harvesting. Even though in our mind we think that it's producing it for us, it's not. It's producing it for itself to reproduce. So if you constantly keep taking the seed away, then the plant's going to constantly keep going into the ground for more and more nutrients to get more and more seeds to produce more offspring. So anyway, guys, that is it today for Mike over here at Growtopia. A little insight, a little update, little tips for today. If anybody's having some issues and you're stressing out about planting, just don't stress. Just plant a shit ton of seed and figure out where you're going to stick it. And hey, if you don't have the room for it and you got something that's nice and it's growing and it's established, maybe look at giving it away to some of your family members. Maybe throwing up a flyer out there. Who knows? One of the farms I went to told me to get on next door and start promoting my my side business of selling plants and redoing backyards and just getting more of it out there on how I can transform your backyard into a Growtopia. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. This is Mike over here at Growtopia. Later.